So when we were growing up, guys, I mean, dating now, back to, now to what it was, I think it's just a difference. I mean, I know I'm married, Woody's married, Frankie's or Woody's Woody's not
Do
married.
that to
I'm
me. Do not do that to
sorry.
me.
Woody's not married. Frankie's
Crash and
married.
freaking burned.
It's
Wow.
just living a single life. So we're all in different parts of our lives. So we're just bringing back the relationship series, talking about our relationship and how different dating is back when we were a kid to what it is now. And starting off, you guys, looking back, that fear of rejection stopped me from asking out so many girls or reading into things that as simple as somebody touching my foot with their foot underneath the desk. I was like, is she hitting on me?
I hope so.
But that fear of rejection coming from the guy's point of view, it stopped me from. I got rejected once, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Unless I know 100%, I don't want to. Uh, I don't want to ask her.
Yeah, and it's weird because the fear of rejection was way more of a thing then, but I actually find dating infinitely harder now. And almost for kind of what you said, unless I know 100%, I don't even want to ask. I don't want, it's usually somebody I've met through like mutual friends, and I don't want to read into something and then get put on blast. I see these girls putting stuff on messages on Instagram to like put people on blast all the time. It's just like, unless I know they're interested in me, I really don't even like going through the whole approach anxiety. And like I said, it's not even so much the fear of rejection. It's like I don't know, like the stigma, like almost like the retaliation part of it that seems to be more of a thing now that social media has kind of become the way everybody meets.
As the oldest of the group, I'll say I remember when I was dating before I was married, social media wasn't nowhere near what it is now. I mean, high school, college, not everybody had Facebook back then. Several people had MySpace if it was still a thing. Twitter was still considered new. Nobody heard of Instagram or any of these dating apps, as you call it. In fact, actually, eHarmony was a website, and that was it. But fear rejection, I kind of learned early on in my life that besides like high school and college, but like going out to bars and uh, fear of rejection was not really a thing because I learned that if I get rejected at bars for random strangers and stuff, the chances of me meeting them in the future was very, very slim. So yeah, I embarrassed myself for 5 seconds, but normally they will say yes, and it was a blossoming fling, you know.
Yeah, but going back to Jaren and the difference between it being blasted on Facebook to when you got rejected in elementary or high school, junior high, it was word by mouth. Like this was before we had phones or phones that had good quality pictures to where you could screenshot or anything. You had to spread that word by mouth. Oh, did you hear that Michael asked so and so out? And now it's just you put it in your DMs. That's written.
Yeah.
And they're just taking that screen grab and they're just talking about you. It spreads instantly, and everybody in the city is gonna know about this. Everybody who's on your Facebook is gonna know about this.
And to his point, like it's different. Yeah. Bars and like concerts and stuff like that, not such a big deal for that exact reason. If worst thing I'm already there for another reason. Worst thing they say no, seem uninterested, and I just keep moving on with my life. It's the actually trying to date, like you said, because now everything's got a paper trail. Like the worst of it growing up was like what MSN Messenger, but everyone had a brick Nokia phone. They're not taking screenshots, like you said. So it was like he asked me
Get
out.
rid of a
No,
lot more.
no, it didn't. Yeah, that's a damn lie. You goat-faced whore. Like that. I didn't do that. So you can at least like deny it if you were publicly being shamed, but now I mean it is what it is. There's no getting around it. Like I said, people have just there's not just a lot of respect, like mutual respect for people. Like surely everybody's been rejected at some point, and if they're not being like gross about the way they're approaching you, I just don't understand why some people are so just volatile. Like just there's this incessant need for drama that people just seem to drum up.
And that's why, like in high school, once I started trying to date, I dated out of town. You know, we grew
Mm-hmm.
up in a smaller town,
Mm-hmm.
so most of my high school girlfriends were out of town anyway, because you didn't want, for the exact same reasons you guys are, saying what some of your fears were. You didn't want to be rejected. And even though we didn't have, like Frankie, we essentially grew up in the same social media era as you did, as far as what was, popular. But it was just you didn't want to be rejected. By the time you got to school the next day, everybody knew, everybody communicated. So that's my high school dating experience. I tried to date out of town if I could. If you got rejected by them, it wasn't it wasn't getting back to other potential, girlfriends or whatever.
Yeah, because like I said, people just, sometimes relationships just don't end well, and sometimes people just kind of get spiteful for revenge. So, especially in a small town, like you said, somebody says, "Oh, he's a bad kisser," or "He's muy pequeño," that could be it for you there in high school, and that's obviously devastating when you have such a fragile teenage ego.
Or even going to a bar and you try to dance with a girl, you try to do the, oh,
Oh,
she's standing right there, I'm gonna come up behind her, and her friend looks at you and with disgust in your in her eyes. That makes you feel so awesome walking away from that encounter.
I kind of feel like now we're blending two different types of courtship, or I guess if that's the word I want to use,
Yeah.
because we have dating. Because in high school, it was about having a girlfriend, trying to go on dates, trying to hold hands, trying to do some of that relationship stuff. We're mixing in because I heard Frankie talk about it too. Going to bars, I wasn't looking for a date or a girlfriend really in a bar. It was
yeah.
more of a conquest type of thing. But that rejection was still there. It was a different world you're in. Everyone there is going to see you get rejected. It might not pop up on social media, but it's going down the bar scene that night that you've been turned down several times in cases. I've seen people, I know you guys have all seen that drunk dude that tries to dance on like 8 or 9 guys throughout the course, or guys, sorry, girls, throughout the course of the night. Sometimes guys too. That's how drunk they get.
Yeah. It's
But
2022, baby.
Well, I was gonna say it's 2020. You never
you
know
know,
nowadays.
but having fun with friends, whatever. We all know, it's no big deal. But it's different kinds of conquest. Like I said, is what we're talking about here. But that same fear of rejection, I think, is still prevalent in our minds. But I wanted to make sure we distinguish between.
Oh, and I remember like in high school, it's more about a relationship. It's more about uh trying to grow something new, between two people. But then like more in the like early 20s, once you get out of your high school setting, it's not no longer about a relationship more. I mean, for me personally, it was more about hooking up and moving on. And in high school, that you can't really do that as much because I mean, yeah, and social media wasn't a big thing, but word of mouth was. You got rumors and everything else. Whereas in 20s, like I said earlier, you see the girl, you never really see her again.
Or there was at least that like mutual, I guess, understanding that it was we were we ran into each other at the bar, hooked up,
Yeah,
took off in the morning, and like you said, there wasn't any expectations there. Whereas
but
like when you're younger, you're right, you're trying to grow something because you're always trying to act like you're older, so you're trying to mimic those like relationship things that you see in the movies and like from your maybe parents or older siblings or whatever. And like as you get older, some of those glass ceilings get shattered, and you realize that, oh, those are just the movies. things almost never go that smoothly, or most of the time, work out at all. So I think that's part of why it's gotten easier as I've gotten older. I'm a little more. I've got a better grasp of reality and how things actually work and how they're supposed to work, and I don't have to feel like I'm necessarily always the one in the wrong. Communication is way easier now than when I was
Right.
younger. Opening up feelings wise was just an absolute nightmare for me. Because I mean, I was just raised, like a man. You suffer in silence. Everybody's got their problems. You don't need to put yours on other people. So that was a huge thing that I know. Still to this day working on it, but that was like one of those things I noticed once I kind of figured out, you have to be with somebody that you're able to even have those conversations with. Because I know for a while I had an awful girlfriend, just very like verbally and emotionally abusive, and because of that, I didn't ever tell her anything because I was afraid of how she was going to react all the time, and I thought that was the normal. I thought that's just how relationships were, and once I kind of got out of that and started meeting just more people and normal people, I was like, oh, so I don't have to hold all of this in and suppress this and just be anxious all the time. There are some people out there that you can have normal conversations with and can handle hearing some things they may not like and not get distraught over it and, make you feel bad or make it not even worth your energy to even bring it up. So, like I said, there's certain, but with that being said, like I said, dating is kind of getting more difficult because I'm a very personal person. I like to meet in real life, and it's gotten even people like a little older than me even they've just gotten so heavy on like the dating apps, and there's now almost this not exclusive, but there's more people with just hooking up expectations than actual dating expectations. And I feel like it's almost a stigma now to. I didn't always expect to date everybody I hooked up with, but if I was hooking up with them, I kind of assumed there was always a possibility. Maybe I end up liking them more than I think, or get to know them more. And I think if a lot of girls right now, if they get a whiff of that, I don't know if it's intimidating or they just don't even want to deal with that, but they'll just ghost you or they'll just cut things off cold turkey, like not even bother to go through the process. It's turned into such a hookup culture, especially in the cities. And I
I don't,
feel like everyone's afraid to even pursue half of that or just
and
see
I
where
don't know.
things go, like I said.
I don't know where I want to go from that because I can go from anywhere from anything that you just said, Jaron. I can go for right now dating, but I do want to hit on before we move on to today's dating, uh, the emotional side back when we were younger, and how that actually I was in love with one of my best friends, and I told her this as a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, and I was very open with her. I was very emotional. Like, yeah, I like you. She friend zoned me multiple times after saying, yeah, let's date. No, let's not date. Gross. Things like that. And then some of the stuff that I told her she would use whenever she got mad at me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was somewhat of a nice guy, right, Woody? Like I wasn't the a hole that I am today. I was a real nice guy back then.
Bull
And
You're
crap.
still a nice guy. You're still a nice guy, dude.
well, I was very sensitive, and I saw her dating all these douchebags, and I was like, what the hell? So that was my villain origin story right there.
Oh yeah, I had
Who I
so
switched from
many. I had so many of those self monologues where you're like, "This is fuck this." The nice guy always finishes last. I'm gonna be a piece of shit now, and because I was the same way. Like I couldn't as bad as I tried to kind of mimic that alpha male a hole kind of persona that seemed to work. I couldn't do it. It just wasn't me,
There
and
was
I just
two reasons. Go ahead.
no.
Okay. I was about to say you gotta realize there's two reasons for that, and you kind of touched on it earlier. Um, First off, you got in high school, girls expecting relationships to be like the movies. I don't know
Yeah.
how many girls expecting a Nicholas Sparks novel ending to their life or something. But then also the
I
maturity
was
level.
also big. We were growing up too. The Notebook that just came out.
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah. That's the reason why I thought of Nicholas Sparks too. But the other thing is, there's such a difference in maturity level. And during that time, I'm not a girl. I'm here speculating, and it seems to make sense in my mind, though. But like during that time, girls are still trying to figure out who they are and what they actually want. So they see on the TV the bad boy, and he looks cool. He's smoking a cigarette or riding a freaking motorcycle, and they're like, "Oh, I like that. I want that." You know, and you know, and it
Oh,
just
degrade me, daddy.
I know, right?
Well,
So,
and men are just such simpler creatures, so we're very easily, not everybody obviously, but I feel like as a whole we're way more easily appeased. Whereas, like, you're kind of right. I think there's a perception, like from the movies and different things, that they constantly needed something go, like it had to continue the romantic sequence that they have played out in their head. And I think that with men being simple, probably not communicating well, it just women, I think, just moved on more to keep things fresh and new. And I mean, women just have more options. It's just how it is. It's easier. So I feel like instead of fixing things or trying to analyze things and understand, they would just move on to something new because it was easier. And then men, we take all that personal, we hold it we hold it in and push it deep down, and we don't really address why what happened. We just either assume it's their fault, it's my fault, depending on what kind of person you are, if you blame within or blame without. But I think you're right, Frank. I think there's that constant need for the the rom-com, like, to play out in real life.
Yeah, but I also think there's so many different places, especially at that time, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, every year of being a male, the expectations that we have coming from different, whether it's from other guys, we all played sports. So, especially at that age, there was the locker room talk, if you will. I'm sure there were guys that lied about some of their conquests at that time as well. But you kept saying, Jaron, that we're simple, and I agree 100%. I've always argued that. But at the same time, there are complex expectations that we have to be alphas in, I think, in certain aspects, even because, Mike, you were talking about it, that nice guy thing, it tears at us because that's not the expectation of the way you need to be as a male to go get girlfriends, to go, have other situations, other relations with girls, I guess, if you will. I'm trying to be PC for the show. I don't want to get anybody upset, but that's what I keep hearing. As you guys are talking, is we have all these expectations, and and it tears us up. And then, like you said, Jaron, we internalize it. We just continue to pile it on, and either blame somebody else or blame ourselves, and just move on to the next one with all that other problems, and never figure it out. I don't think, because that's a lot of problems. I think issues that men have with dating. I'm trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah, trying to figure this thing out, and I mean that's a good segue into what dating is today. I know I've been married since the latter part of 2020, so that's about 2 years. How long have you guys been in your relationships, Frankie and Woody?
I have been married. This year will be my 10th year married.
Wow, that's awesome. First of all, I've been in this relationship for 8 years now. 8 years in April, I should say, this year.
I had
So it's
I,
definitely
I,
my
I,
longest relationship.
I'm at the point in my relationship I just have to ask my wife to verify that's how long we've been married.
And Jaren, I'm assuming you're. I don't want to assume, so I'm just gonna ask you, what are you doing?
Living my best life. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, okay, that's what.
Uh, no,
There's a
Bubbly and be
plan
up.
in the works.
I
I don't want to give too much up, but there's a plan in the works. But my man, Jaron, is just laying the earthquake down. That's all.
so I guess right into COVID. I guess was that 2019 now. So I guess I've been single for the better part of 2 years now. But going into that, I was living with somebody that I had been dating since junior year of college. So we were 7.5 years in, and it ended very poorly. But um, it was it was a very good learning experience, and I grew up quite a bit, especially with the emotional side of it. That's when I like really had to just come to terms with the fact that the way I was dealing with some things is just not healthy. And if I really can see myself being happy and like being able to put some of the I had that total F all women, they're trash these days kind of mentality from just what I went through. And I realized that not that's just not how everybody is. That's just the hand I was dealt, and something else will happen at some point. But unless I work on myself, I'm either gonna miss my chance out with that person, or I may not even take my opportunity with them. So it was kind of one of those things that it forced me to kind of deal with the whole communication aspect and the emotional aspect and figure out um, actually because I just didn't want to think about it, didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to think about it, and now it took me a good while, probably at least a year before I really even started opening up to like my closest friends and stuff about it. But it actually, if anybody is struggling after a hard breakup, I would tear the band-aid off and just talk to your friends or whoever, a counselor, anybody, because once you can start being honest about some of the stuff, you can stop kind of holding yourself back, because that was just a that was one of my biggest pride. I wouldn't analyze what happened and be honest about the ups and downs, and probably should have ended the relationship way quicker. But because I wouldn't be honest with how the situation was actually going, I drug it out for so much longer and caused myself so many more problems. So don't always think that you're just, crazy, or this is how things really are, or this is normal. If it doesn't feel right, open up to other people, because other perspectives outside of your own head can be extremely clarifying.
And good points, Aaron. Good points that you just shared. I can share some of those as well, or relate to some of those. Yes, I was also, before I got with my current wife, I was with my children's mother for about 6 years on and off. And like you said, the relationship should have ended long before it ever did. And even in our last year being together, quote unquote, if you can see my fingers, quote unquote, because we were very free, I guess, with it. But I was just so scared to go back into the dating world because I had been out of it for 6 years, and I didn't know what to expect. I had lost a tooth last time I was in the dating pool. I still had a tooth in the front of my mouth. So, I'm going out there with a tooth missing in the front. I got 2 kids now. I'm just like, God, who wants a toothless baby daddy who's about to be 30 and is making an all right living, I guess, but nothing to laugh about, nothing to smile on. So that made me stay with her a lot longer than what I should have, and really made me fear what dating was, because I saw the apps, Tinder,
Yeah.
Bumble, Hinge, all of this stuff, and it's so girl driven,
Mhm.
like if you're a woman, if you have a vagina, you will get guys inboxing. It doesn't matter what you look like. I am a firm believer. It doesn't matter what you look like. Guys are just either horny or looking for whatever. And you will find somebody. You will have an inbox of dudes, no matter what level of female that you are. But guys, like, you gotta be one of those really good looking ones that have multiple girls in your inbox. you know, you're trying to you're trying to you're trying to manage your own expectation in your own teams and whatnot. And here they are with 10 other guys texting them "Good morning, beautiful" on a daily basis.
Well, and there was that fear too that like I've put this much time and this much effort into this, I
Hmm.
have to make this work. You know, it was it was a mixture of like a what you said, terrified to go back into the dating game because I think most of my friends have done very well with their wives. I like all of them, but I see some of their friends. I know some of the like girls that I play soccer with and how they operate with guys, and that scared me. But two, I think I kind of fell victim to the rom com thing too. You know, I met her when I was 20, 21 or whatever. Thought I'd met the person, my forever person, and played this out in my head for the better part of, 7.5 years and ignored a lot of red flags because, I, it was an ego thing. I didn't want to believe that I had that bad of a judge of character. And I really should have gotten out of my own way a little sooner. Um, but you're right. It was a mixture of being terrified, knowing that the market is very female driven now, the fear of wasting my time and coming to terms with that, and then, like I said, that unrealistic expectation that things aren't going to have that fairy tale ending, and I'm almost 30, and I had to come to terms with that's not even that old. Like, calm down. There's plenty of life left to live, and that's it was just a ton of irrational fears just all piled in.
I'm listening to you guys talk about before your current relationship or current or before where you are now. And first of all, I want to be careful with how I try to explain this story because I don't want to end up on the couch like we usually do in these episodes. Um, but like my time, like I had from the time, after high school to when I started dating my current girlfriend, which when I was 23, 24, till now, like we all believe in karma in some aspect of it, but I definitely felt like I was hit with the bad side of karma for the period that I had from like 18, 19 to like 21, 22, where I wasn't a very nice person, well, I had to be, I was a nice person to get what I wanted, I guess, is what
Mm.
I'm saying. And then I had two relationships back to back. I'm not going to say the girls' names, but they had the same name, which was funny as well too. Two completely different girls, and both of these relationships ended bad. Involved another friend of mine. It was just messy, messy situations to where I felt like kind of what you were saying, Jaron, where um, there has to be some kind of self reflection. Like I got into some more spirituality, got my body right, started working out just for better mental and physical health, and actually had decided to be celibate. Like I went and I did all that, and it wasn't to try to worry about a fad, but I truly felt like that there was like my last girlfriend that I had had before I had done this. She was a shitty person as well, Jaron, just like similar to your situation, manipulative, mentally abusive, things like that. But I not necessarily blame myself, but I was like, what am I doing to attract this
Yeah.
kind of person, this
Hmm.
kind of spirit, this kind of energy? So I went on that kind of, path to try to, figure out who I was. And I ended up, before I got with my girlfriend now, I actually ended up with a older woman, if you will. I was 22. She was like 34 or 35. And she almost is what connected the rest of the dots as far as what a woman needed from a man in certain aspects of a relationship. There were things that she taught me. We weren't even really dating. We just, she called me up, it was a hotline bling kind of thing. But
You were
she would
some young
still,
booty.
huh?
You were some young booty.
Man, bro, her daughter at the time was like 14 or 15. I was 21, 20. It was a weird thing. It was a really weird thing. Wow. But no, she taught me certain things, a way a man should be in a relationship. We never had ever talked about being in a relationship. We both knew that's not what the case was going to be. She was waiting on her kid to graduate so she could get out and go travel. But she's kind of what connected the dots for me to be able to try to go try to date again or try to get with someone and ended up in this situation here. And it's different when you're with someone as well too, who has a child of their own, even more so than you, Mike, who you came in with your own children, but to not have any and to have a certain mindset and a certain path and then have to switch that up completely. I don't think I would have been ready for it if I hadn't went on the path that I had and had the self enlightenment that I did, as opposed to trying to blame everybody else for what happened. And you guys, I get that's my situation, but my growth from it. So you gotta focus in on something. I think that's the better way to do it. Whether you do therapy or not, is you need to figure out what you're doing to attract this situation. Some things can be controlled, some can't. But if it's continuing to happen, there's something you're doing that's bringing that kind of person into your life.
And that is but you've got to be able to separate those two things, because that was,
Right.
there's, like you said, some of it's not in your control. You, like you said, you may just be an overly nice person and get
Right.
walked on, so you don't get that respect, and because of that you attract that certain type of female that, there can be things that you can change. But I know you gotta it's perspective, like you said, because I took it so to heart that there's, like you said, there's something wrong with me. you know this isn't the first time it's happened. It's got to be something with me, and there was definitely things that I needed to grow, I needed to change.
Right.
But I also had to realize that some people just suck,
Right.
and
Well,
that's not
And
your fault.
hold your thought,
well,
Frankie. Hold your thought. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, never mind. I was just gonna
Okay.
say that. I was just gonna
So,
say real quick.
go ahead.
Hold on, just to piggyback off Jaron. Sometimes that being more aware of shit
Yeah.
before it even gets there. You're seeing the flag before it turns red. Is maybe just to piggyback on what you were going to say. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frankie.
So you gotta realize, and believe me, everybody learns this the hard way. Um, I mean, but when you're dating is trying to find the type of person you want to be with the rest of your life. I could tell you right now, from dating to marriage, and believe me, 10 years is a long time. And I'm not saying my marriage is all sunshine and flowers. Me and my wife do fight and we argue and everything else, but I mean, we know it could take each other off, and sometimes we just do it on purpose, But when you're dating, you're trying to find that your actual person you want to marry. And Jared, there's nothing wrong against you. Everybody does it when they get into a relationship that they've been into. They want to make it work. They start thinking inwardly upon themselves, thinking there's something wrong with themselves. I remember when I was dating, I dated this one chick before I got married, and we were ending it and everything else. And I was thinking, man, I'm a screw up or something. I don't know what's going on, And then finally, a friend, like actually a good friend of mine who'd been married in the military at the time, straight up told me, he goes, that y'all just not compatible. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not compatible with that person. And
Right.
if you force yourself to get married, and I'm pretty sure Mike will tell you the same thing. When you get married, any little problem that you have with your significant other will multiply.
Mm-hmm.
It gets worse. And I could tell you, like, there's some things that me and my wife, we still try to figure some things out about each other. And she knows what gets on my ticks, and I know what gets on hers. But it's the small things. Like, yeah, you gotta learn to ignore some of this stuff, but other stuff, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just y'all are not compatible.
And I'm going to come back to that marriage. I'm going to come back to that marriage part that you said, Frankie. But I'm going to go back real quick to the dating between my last relationship to my current marriage right now, and that time period of the expectations of I think we all grew up where it was like the guy needs to pay for this, the guy needs to take the girl out and do all this stuff. So even in 2020, 2021, I'm just like, all right, so I'm asking these girls out on these dating apps that most of these people are just using for sex. It's not even dating, it's Netflix and chill, Hulu and whatever, like
Free
you just
meals.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, where was
You
that app when I was growing up? Holy crap,
right?
man!
And it's that's all that it is. Like it's just I got tired of it. At one point, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is fun. No connections. I could just tell you what I want. This is just strictly casual with just sex." And I'm just like, "But I want to date." But so I started taking these girls out on dates, and I noticed that I'm paying all this money for these dates, and I'm not doing no McDonald's dates or anything. I'm doing like dinner in a movie or bowling in a movie. I'm doing a two part type of date that offers us enough time
You
to
spending
hopefully
all
try
that
to get to
money.
know each other. And my wallet is just like, feed me. Yeah, and the girls. I mean, I'm not expecting sex or anything. I'm expecting a relationship, but I'm not getting a kiss afterwards or anything like that. I'm just like, I just spent like $100 on this goddamn date, and I'm in the same position that I was before the date, and it starts to add up. So my current wife, we started talking, and I hope she listens to this episode because I tried to talk to her, and she ghosted me for like 2 months. She's like, all men are trash. I don't want to talk to you.
Hmm.
So I randomly hit her up 2 months later, and we hit things off. And she finally asked me to hang out because I wasn't about to get rejected again. I was like, you know what? I have this idea. First date, I pay my way, you pay your way. If there's a second date, then I'll have no problem paying the full thing. But just going in paying the full thing the entire time, I got kids, man. I got kids to support, and she agreed to it, and it was a great first date. Side note, she was very surprised when I didn't try to sleep with her. She thought something was wrong with me or something was wrong with her. But I'm just like, I'm looking for a relationship. I don't want to push for this. I want a relationship with you. I don't want you to think it's all about sex. And we were in a relationship probably a week after that or a couple of days after that. But I was like, I'm not trying to get in your pants. I'm trying to start a relationship. I'm looking for forever right now.
Mike,
See,
I'm glad you brought that up real quick because I have a question for all you guys. Um, how many relationships would you say you either attempted to get into or got into or whatever, but where the first time you hung out, whether it be you met at a bar, you did go on a date back somewhere where you had, how many of those ever worked out? Where that first interaction involved sex? Any of them?
no.
Yeah.
Down, I
The
mean, I'll say a long term, a year or more, close to a year or more relationship. Has it ever been successful?
No.
twice.
As opposed to, as opposed to like
Well,
you have a couple dates, you communicate. I'm not even
well then.
saying you. Go ahead, go ahead.
So you're asking, it's like a loaded question because first
Yeah.
off, whenever I went to the bars, it wasn't like I was looking for a relationship. I was just looking for some
I'm
action
not.
later that night.
I'm not saying that. Like right. So say the person you met up with, you continued communicating with, you texted the next morning, you went and got breakfast or whatever, and ended up turning into a relationship down the line, or you
Oh no,
attempted,
I never even attempted. I was a hit and quit it.
good, good,
So
good
yeah,
guy.
yeah. I'm like, no,
That's that
no,
Texas strong. That's that
yeah.
Texas strong.
No, no. So like, I never really looked for relationships at bars or anything else. The relationships I've had in my past was either like coworkers. I met my wife when I was 11, so we actually dated in high school.
My girlfriend was my coworker at the time.
Yeah, or like it was people that I kind of already knew. So I kind of already knew their personality and all that stuff. It wasn't like some. I did go on a blind date once, and I will never do that again. But whenever I went to the bars or clubs or whatever, no, it wasn't. I wasn't looking for a relationship, and I didn't want a relationship, so I didn't let it carry on. Now looking back, were there some girls that I could have carried on? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get to know the relationship. We seemed pretty cool that night, but I mean, who are you when you're truly drunk?
Can I say one thing real quick? Because we haven't pubbed our show at all. I just want to say this is a great relationship episode from a men point of view where we're not bashing women. When we talk about expectations and things like that in society and social media, like like for real though, no, like I'm thinking about that as well too. That's part of I see that stuff and I see how a man will be drawn into that being a part of their influence. We're seeing all these things now where men are thinking, like what's that guy's name? I forgot his name again. Who's always bashing women. You know,
Kevin
there's a
Samuel.
certain, Kevin Samuel. So he'll try to talk about, women aren't at a level for men to even seek them and things like that. So now all of a sudden men have to think like that.
I
So I
wish
like,
I wish he wasn't so drastic, because there actually is
he
a
has good
lot of
points.
truth in, because that's kind of
Yes.
where I was getting ready to go. Not dragging females, but the way the dynamic of the dating has changed over the last like at least decade. I feel like we went through this whole toxic masculinity and the Me Too, and we as a society had to look and be like, these are certain things that are not okay, that a lot of men
Have
think
to
is
put up
okay
with.
to operate in how they treat women. But on that vice versa, I don't know if it was social media influence, but a lot of women these days have now embodied all of those toxic traits that they said they didn't want in men.
And that's what the positive of what you're going with those shows talks about. Is literally that, and how it's not attractive to a male, but it's the bashing of it is what I was talking about for
Yeah.
pubbing our episode. So thanks for making me sound like an asshole.
No, no,
With fiction, but no,
You're completely welcome,
what'd you say?
and you're completely welcome.
Oh,
And just
thanks.
going on that, I mean, well, like we said, we're not bashing on women because, like
You're not.
I think we've shared enough that we have our own demons that we faced or trials that we had to go down. But even now, just we can go to expectations of the men and the women when it comes to dating or the dating realm, where it's a lot of these women are becoming single moms or at a very young age, and then it's like after they keep dealing with these douchebags, now they want somebody who's good for them. But they have all
Mm-hmm.
this baggage, and I'm sorry, kids are baggage. No matter what kids are added on.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I know my
and
kids
now,
are.
yeah, now they're looking for that guy that was showering them with gifts or feelings back in the day, but that doesn't exist anymore, or he's not into her anymore because you blew him off. But there's movies about this as well. Middle-aged mom tries to get back with her high school what if,
well,
or the guy that she should have been with.
and they don't seem to care where they get that from once they start really seeking that attention. And I think that's where I kind of bring up that they've kind of embodied the toxic stuff that they complained about men, because they don't even respect each other. They don't respect each other's relationships. I mean, I know so many girls who have women who have ended their relationships by cheating, but with other married men, with friends' husbands, with, I mean, it's uh, it's more common, at least from what I see at this point, that women seem to be the ones who are filing for the divorces, who are sleeping around, who are causing divorces. I mean, just from my own personal experience, the last girl that I dated, I only found out she was cheating again because she was caught by a coworker's wife while they were at work. And then she went through and got all the messages and then sent them to me, and that opened up that whole can of worms. But they're divorced now. And you know what? They had a short fling afterwards because they had to make that work, right? I mean, she ended a marriage, and I just, like, to me as like a woman, how do you do that to another woman? Like, are you there's some insatiable need for attention and validation. And like I said, I don't know if it's like, or
Because it
like you
made that
said,
I
worse.
don't think a lot of men would do that to other men either. Like it, because you're not gonna. Because I know how it would make you feel.
exactly. I think if
I
you've been
would.
cheated on, yes, absolutely.
Like, there's random dudes who, like, for instance, we're at a soccer match or whatever. We both got on the same team shirt, so we're gonna hug when our team scores the game-winning goal. We've never even met each other because we'll share that. That's something as simple as that. I'm not gonna do that. Put a man through that kind of hurt.
Well, and
Some
I
stranger.
was at a bachelor party last year and dancing with this girl at the bar, getting ready to probably head back to our place,
Heck yeah.
and I grabbed her hand to pull her towards the Uber, and I felt a ring, and I looked down, and I looked back up at her, and she could tell I noticed. And I was like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And I just gave her the most disgusted look I could, dropped her hand, and left. I mean, like, that was such a disgusting turnoff for me that just didn't even, like, she was so fine with it. And I was like,
Dude,
"This is why I don't want to date anybody. You're a monster."
I've been in relationships when I've been accused. Well, where I've been accused of either liking their friends or wanting to be with their friends, and I've never, right hand to God, I've never cheated in any of my relationships ever. So I hate cheating. Like, if you're gonna cheat, just be single, dude. Just
Yeah,
go ahead and go about your business, or at least let them know, hey, this is the kind I'm open. I'm in an open relationship. I want to. This is what I want. Expectations,
yeah,
things of that
expectations. It's
nature.
all.
But I got accused of this stuff, and then when we broke up, they're hitting on my friends, or they're with somebody who's in a relationship or married, and I'm just like, you were you were dragging me, saying that I was doing this or you felt this stuff, and then as soon as we end, this is the shit that you pull.
She
So
did to make you
yeah,
jealous.
I
I
mean,
got,
I guess, but
Well, I've also learned sometimes that's deflecting. That's
yeah,
manifesting guilt
yes,
from, because
doing it.
the first relationship that I said that I had, that was, more of the abusive one. Uh, it was the same thing all the time. I was such an overly nice guy, and I, every girl that I've passed in the mall, went back through my MSN Messenger, like, from like the last 5 years, went through my emails. It was just constantly accusing me of stuff that I wasn't doing, and I didn't understand what I had done to, like, lose that trust. And then I found out it wasn't me, it was that she was sleeping around and messing around. And so because of that, she just assumed that I was, or, felt too guilty and wanted a way out, was hoping she could find something. And, she was completely deflecting what she was doing the entire time. So there's that too. That's one of those things you gotta analyze afterwards and see which one's which. But
And it's like whenever you watch that show Cheaters, which is a phenomenal show, by the way. Every time they
that's
get
it.
caught, they get pissed off.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're mad that they got caught. They're mad that why'd you call this TV show? Why are all these cameras in my face? They act like the victim in that
Dude, this
situation.
person
It's
got
always the
mad.
same thing.
This person got mad when they told me that what they did, because they knew that they preached against it so much. And when I showed like negative emotions or anything of that nature, it was like, oh, so you're just not gonna be okay with this? And like, I was the bad guy. I'm like, you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You
The
what?
last the
And
last
I fell for it because I'm like, I don't want to. I want a relationship. I have to see through this, and that's going to be another relationship series. We're going to talk about guys and how much we think we have to put on our shoulders. That's going to be another episode later on. But yeah, man, it's just like, it's definitely like cheater. Like, how I told you this, I was honest with you, and you're still upset. How dare you be upset? What?
Well, it's more than that because I mean, for those of y'all got kids, you know how it is when you catch your kids doing something wrong. It's not like they're cheating on a significant other, but they go on into the total defensive, and whenever somebody gets caught cheating, they will tend to go into a total defensive, and it goes back to the old saying, a drowning man you can never save a drowning man because he's going to sink you too,
there's a difference
um
though, Frank, though. Like
uh,
I
and
always
and
feel like we argue, but like one's shame and one is like deflection.
I guess the last question that I'll ask you guys is: do you believe, with how the world is, with women embodying a toxicity that they say they're so against, do you believe that chivalry is dead, or that they killed it, or what is the state of chivalry?
That's a tough one. Honestly, I think third wave feminism was extremely toxic and was very regressive to, um, relational values. I mean, that you can probably chalk that up to partial breakdown of the nuclear family. There's a lot of people don't have two parents, a lot of mommy and daddy issues out there. And I think there's been probably several different reasons why relationships seem to be harder and divorce rates seem to be going up. But that's a miserable way to live. And you just got to realize there are good people out there and there are shitty people out there. And if you just continue to, like Woody said, manifest what you want to attract to you, I'm a firm believer that in time, if that's the kind of person you portray yourself to be and the way you live, you will be able to draw somebody of equal value back to you. It may take a while, it may be extremely frustrating, but don't don't think it's all hopeless and all men or all women are trash. There's just some things that you need to figure out what you want, not to make excuses for people's bad behavior. Avoid being manipulated. Like Mike said, I went through the same thing where she wanted the excitement of, I don't know, sneaking around with a married guy, but also loved the stability of coming home to a house and a dog and all the bills paid and dinner cooked and whatever else. That she liked the family life, but she also liked she belonged to the streets. Can't turn a hoe into a housewife, and that's just sometimes how it is. But I don't think people should despair. I don't think it's dead. Like I said, I think most of my friends did amazing with the women they found and settled with, and it renews my hope every time I see them.
I don't think it's I think it's dead, but I don't think it's necessarily been killed or dead in a negative sense. It's just kind of like, I mean, chivalry is what, in the modern sense, is you get into dating, then get into a relationship, then get into marriage, then get into children, and get into all that other stuff. But so many of these other steps are being done before even a courtship. It's not, that's where I think it's been killed. There's so many other things in front of it. Plus what Jaron said too, just a different dynamic of the family as well. And how that was tied to religion. And that we've talked about that some as well too. But I do think it's dead, but I don't think it's, I know, Mike, your question, you weren't necessarily trying to be negative, but there was a negative. It's said, that phrase is said with a negative connotation, and I don't think it necessarily is. My girlfriend, she's the one who came after me, if you will. I didn't come after her necessarily. So I just think roles have changed. We're more equal in that standpoint. So it's not so much that it's been killed, murdered off, or anything. We're just in a different age of mating, I guess.
So I'm a little bit more old fashioned, and I'll have to say I don't think I agree. I don't think it's.
You don't say, Frankie.
I know.
It's
I don't think.
conservative.
I don't think
You're
it's dead.
conservative?
I know. But like to this day, still, like whenever me and my wife go out on a date or once every blue moon, I'll actually do the chivalrous thing. I hold open the door. I pull out her seat. I open the car door. If she gets up to go somewhere, I stand up. I do all the old fashioned chivalrous stuff. And but also I think we've gotten a mindset as society where, and I kind of do blame the toxic feminine. Like I've got yelled at before for holding a door open one time, and the lady looked at me and was like, "What? You didn't think I was strong enough to do it myself?" This was up in Austin, Texas, and I was like, "No, I'm just trying to be a nice guy," you know. I was raised in a deep Southern roots that we do stuff for like that for women, but at the same time, a lot of the feminists thinks that it kind of degrades women if you do these sort of acts. So a lot of people are now starting to get scared or just no longer doing it because of the mindset of how should I put this, gender equality, or it's not even gender equality. I don't even know what you would consider it really.
I think some people are just narcissists because they just assume that I don't hold the door open for other people too. It was just because they're a female. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just
But you see
being polite.
but you understand what I'm saying though, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
And my take on it is, I believe it's crippled. I don't think it's dead quite yet, but I agree with Jaron. I think feminism has taken a big chunk out of it to where
Well, it's turned into woke
It, you know,
feminism, where it's like
and
the
it's
grievance studies where people are just looking for problems and creating them where they're not. Because it brought up some good conversations that we needed to have, but now has just gone way too far.
yeah, and I mean,
Well,
I think three of us have heard this saying, "Want a man, don't need a man," type of deal, where it's just like, okay, what is that? What does that even mean? Like, so you're gonna live forever by yourself? Is that what you're gonna do? Like, it's so dumb. It's so stupid. Everybody needs somebody. Everybody wants somebody. So you saying that you want a man, don't need a man. All the whole independent thing, that phase, that march. I'm a strong, independent woman. It's just like I think that killed chivalry too, because guys want to feel needed. They want to feel like you need them. They want to feel like there's your support system. And a lot of these people who are claiming independence, they're not really independent.
nah,
No, they're
nah.
not independent at all.
I don't.
It's just
It's.
a word that they know.
I don't even think. Do you? I mean, is it so much needed, but or some just
I think
Yeah,
supported?
it's more of appreciated.
You
yeah.
know
I just want to
There
feel.
you
exactly.
go,
No,
I
Frankie.
just want to feel
I
special sometimes. That's
just
it.
supported. You got my
Buy me some
back,
flowers.
and things like.
Yeah, maybe I get back scratchies. You know what I'm talking about?
We talk about having so many expectations. I'm sure we're gonna jump into episodes with roles that men have, whether they're real or not. That if we live with a woman, you want to come home and you know that you got this. And I don't mean this in a way where the feminine will attack me for it, the feminist will attack me for it, but you want that soft, gentle, kind, nurturing creature, if you will, to let you know everything's smooth.
Yeah, no, I'm not even
Oh,
so worried about like the gender roles. I like to cook. I'll do dinner most of the time. If you want to
but
pick
you
up
understand what I mean,
laundry
though.
or like, yeah, well, yeah, no, exactly. That's what I
You know,
mean. I
we
don't even
live, yeah,
expect that. That would be enough to
right,
just come home and then
exactly,
you remind me I had a tough day,
exactly.
but somebody thinks I'm special to
You don't
them,
need
you know?
my back. I don't need foot rubs, but the hand on the shoulder, like I got you. It's okay. You know, I'm not saying that my girlfriend doesn't do that. I'm not saying she's not supportive, but it's not. It's not so much needy. Like we're being babies about it. We live in the masculine. We have to have a hard outer surface. You need balance.
And I
You
don't
have to
need it every day. I just like I want to know that if I do need it, it is
right,
there.
exactly
Well,
once a month,
and
pun
truthfully,
intended.
well, that goes
At the
back
time
to
of the
what
month.
I said. It goes back to what I said earlier. The whole dating is about finding your life partner, and with that, you gotta realize my wife did this book about what your love language is. I really didn't do it, but it kind of makes sense. Like you gotta find a partner that kind of complements your love language. If it's receiving gifts or if it's affection or something like that. That way you feel appreciated in those in the proper way it means. Like here at the house. I mean, I was single once. I know how to wash my own clothes. I can wash my own
Yeah,
clothes. My
right.
wife, yeah, my wife actually washes my clothes. I never asked her to, and truthfully, I've helped fold and everything else. I mean, and my wife sometimes like, hey, babe, I don't feel like cooking.
Wait.
What?
You're folding your clothes?
I help fold my clothes. Yes,
Dude,
sometimes.
you're lucky for me to even wash my clothes. They will be in a basket and I will take through that thing.
But then, like, my wife will come home. She had a hard day. Hey, babe, I really don't feel like cooking. Can you cook? Yeah, I have no problem. And actually, I'm a grill master. So yeah, if there's time, I'll grill something or smoke like barbecue or something. Depending on when or what it is. But I have no problems like because as when we'll get into roles, I guess, of a male character in the relationship later. But like I want to do what I can to help her because she does what she can to
Right.
help me. I
Right.
know if I come home, I'm like, babe, I've had a rough day at work. I just can't deal with stuff.
Yeah,
She'll
there's
let
no
me,
specified roles. It's picking up slack when just to
Right.
know that
yeah,
somebody else is
because
there to pick up
because
the
truthfully,
slack where you leave some.
because truthfully, we all have our limits. Some have smaller limits than others, but you're right. It's picking up the slack when somebody's worn out. I'm sorry, but like I've got two kids. They're young. They wear me out sometimes. and we kind of help each other on that type of stuff, and that's what the relationship is around.
Hey, another dynamic I didn't even think about, guys, with my situation too is I'm the only excuse me one that works as well too. So she's always home. She's always with the kids. And it's still about that same thing, taking some of the slack. She's been dealing with the baby all day, so I'll cook or I'll do the dishes or I'll vacuum or whatever needs to be done as well too. And it's literally like you're saying, Frankie. It's picking up that slack, with that. But to kind of piggyback off what you were saying real quick, I know we got to get to our final debate with learning your love language. That's kind of what Jaron was saying earlier too, with um, finding out who yourself is. I remember reading in a book a long time ago about you can't love anyone if you don't love yourself or know yourself. You don't know what your love language is, or to go seek somebody that's going to be compatible with it. If you haven't had that opportunity to not even know what you like or anything like that, but to know what you connect with. So to even take that step.
And on that note, guys, it's time to wrap this up. We can keep talking on this for a long time, and you know what? We're gonna have a bunch of different episodes that venture out from this one episode to where we're going down different aspects of what it is to be men in relationships or women in relationships. Hopefully, we get some women on our podcast. But now it's time for our last segment. Time for the actual debate, where the actual debate today is going to be about our favorite 90s crush to go along with dating. That girl back when we were still peeing our beds, probably.
Speak for yourself.
that we that made us feel all tingly inside from a 90s show. Uh, and I just want to open it up. Don't try and be so cliche with your answers. I probably am going to be cliche. But let's see what everybody says is
That's
who was
why
their favorite 90s
that's
crush.
why I'm gonna go first right now. So I don't, everyone else will be cliche. Mine was Topanga from Boy Meets World. That was
Yep.
my first.
Yep.
That was when I like white girls as well too. That was my first white girl crush. Like the curves and everything. But no, it was Topanga. She was smart. Boy Meets World was one of my favorite shows. She's an iconic '90s TV girl
And they were kind of our age,
as
so it
well
was like
too.
extremely
That too.
relatable. You
Yeah,
could like envision actually her being your girlfriend.
exactly, exactly. A little bit older, than some of my time watching it, but you knew a girl like that at school or whatever. So yeah, definitely it was Topanga. Second would be
I
Dion
love
from
how
Clueless.
Woody. I love how Woody. Say that again. Who was your second one, Woody?
Dion from Clueless. Stacey Dash.
Oh, real.
Okay.
Gross.
No,
Well, that well,
I can see. Yeah, I can see.
that's
No,
the
that
after
yeah,
the
that's a
fact
good
one.
choice.
That's an after the fact one that she's gross now, but Stacey Dash was cool
Yeah.
back in
Nah,
the day,
then
dude.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
nice, man.
In the '90s, yeah, I see. Yeah, I'm right
Dion.
I
there
like
with you,
how
Woody.
Woody pointed out. Woody pointed out that, and just so you know, Woody, the conservatives with you on Stacey Dash, but but you're talking about Topanga being smart. I think of two other reasons why Topanga was my crush. It
Mm-hmm.
Why?
was because she was smart.
She was. Yeah.
But I mean, I can go next
Why? Because she
because
was
mine
thick?
is one of the classic OGs.
Is it
Oh
because she was
no.
thick?
Classic. Yes, I guess you could say to
I
go that
said
route.
curvy,
But yeah,
voluptuous.
but you know what I
I
mean. Yeah,
know.
voluptuous. There
Look,
you
man,
go.
listen, my significant other
But
will listen
my
to this show.
mine was Kimberly, the
Yeah.
Pink Ranger.
Yep.
Joe,
Love it.
Amy Jo
Love it.
Johnson.
That was a close second.
We don't need to bring in governments, Frankie.
No, that's her
But
name. That's
I know, I
actually how.
know, I know. That's her government name. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's slang for her government name, Frankie. I'm so
I
sorry.
don't understand y'all's northern talks.
Call her Kimberly because that's what I know her as, the Pink Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the girl next door. Um, it was like the first time I was introduced to a girl, I guess, and then they're fighting crime and whatnot. It just she was just the first one, and the first you never forget, I guess.
Frank,
I
you go
guess,
next.
all right, yeah, I guess I'll go next. So, first off, you gotta realize '90s is my decade. I firmly believe that the '90s was the best decade in the entire mankind history.
I
Um,
agree with
You
that.
aren't
The
gonna
party
just
scene in the
conquer and
90s.
colonize the '90s. It's not just your decade.
uh,
Cut that shit out.
anyways, I totally agree. Kimberly, she's on my list. Had a huge crush on her. Not only that though, but her in her pink uniform kicking ass, that just did something for me. I went through in my head the list of my '90s crushes, and yes, they were some animations, some real actors, um, like Darla Bunny. Wait, is that her name again? But from Space Jam,
Lola Bunny.
Lola, yeah, Lola Bunny,
Lola.
from Space Jam. I don't know what it is, but that bunny, wow. Uh, Another one I was said was like Danica McKellar. She played in Wonder Years. She was Gwendol. But I would have to say my number one crush of all time, Kelly Kapowski.
I mean, yeah.
And sad
She
thing
was too
is,
skinny. She was too skinny.
but if you look at her today, and that's the sad thing, she just continues to be your crush too.
You know what, Frankie? I was more of a Jessie girl from
Mm,
Saved by the Bell more than I was a Kelly.
so somebody that knew he wasn't going to be that very tall, Jessie kind of intimidated me because she had that height figured.
All right, all right. And now here comes Girthquake. He always shake this thing up.
Oh
And
yeah,
it comes
I
off the
was
wall.
I was just
Uh,
making sure nobody was gonna hit mine.
Well,
he's probably gonna go somewhere like in the '80s
I was
or
about to
probably
say
2000s. He's not even gonna
2000s.
be from our era
He's
that we
gonna do
said
like
to go
Kim
Well,
He's
from.
going to name
hey,
off Kim
from horror
Possible.
movies.
Frankie already hit Lola Bunny. I still haven't gotten past that one yet. But so I'm not gonna lie. When you first said this, my first two thoughts: Kimberly and Topanga. Loved them both, but I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, and I googled it earlier. Hands down, no question. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Ooh,
got
yeah.
me going. That was my girl back then. I didn't miss an episode. I got home I ran off the bus to catch that shit. Right after school every day, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah. Like you said, something about those tight little outfits, kicking crime's ass and killing monsters. It's just sexy.
Since Frankie went there with cartoon characters, I know we all love Bulma from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. You want to talk about independent? There you go.
I thought you were talking about Velma from Scooby Doo. But I don't think like when we grew up, when we saw Velma, it was like, ew, gross. It wasn't until we got older and everybody's done what they've done to Velma.
You talking
where
about the
it was just like,
cosplays? Yes.
yeah.
Now you're looking back
You're
like,
like,
Velma was hot.
Is it just the glasses, or am I just mentally disturbed? You have
I
no
think
idea.
it's the nerdiness.
the
Can't
little
see without
skirt. I
my
was just like,
glasses.
Yeah,
Guys,
she's always
damn it.
disarmingly hot. Yeah, Fred was always just trying to bang Daphne, and she's like, "Uh-oh, I dropped my glasses again. Hopefully, he doesn't look at my
jinkies.
skirt."
Oh, jinkies.
Raggy.
wow.
Okay.
That was Jaron, everybody. That was Girthquake.
Oh yeah.
Back again with another one.
See, I knew I'd shake it up.
I mean, y'all can't tell me though. Y'all didn't have the cartoon crushes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
I still do
yeah,
to
I
this
was about to
day.
say,
I mean, if we go.
I'm a huge anime nerd, and it is way worse now because they go out of their way to over sexualize all the female characters.
Animes, yeah, definitely. But like one of the other animations that I had a crush on, but she's 2002 started was Kim Possible, and like I used to watch that show religiously because it was Kim Possible, and I was like, holy crap, this girl's hot.
Yeah. I mean, Shigo.
Yeah.
I was more so for the bad girl on that one. Shigo with the green on brown.
Yeah, and the
on
green
black.
works.
Another one for me were the Maori sisters, Tia and Samira. No,
I wanted both.
I'm kind of
You know,
surprised.
it had to be both.
I'm kind of surprised nobody like went Britney Spears Or
Oh, gross.
really any of the singers. Nobody went singers.
I thought about Lizzie
No.
McGuire. I just said it was way too
Listen to me.
It was-
Oh my gosh.
yeah, Hillary Duff.
I used to
Dude,
say
she
she was gonna
still
be my
got an
second
absolute
wife.
donkey.
That's
She's
2000 though.
Yeah, she's more 2000, but she's got started in 1990s with
She was a 2000 star, though, right?
yeah, that's true.
We didn't know her.
Lizzie McGuire is
Hillary
2000.
Duff, Lizzie McGuire. Yeah, 2001 to 2004.
You know she's divorced
Yeah,
now.
but
So she
I'm just
does.
letting
yeah,
you know.
I do know that.
If you're looking.
But I agree with Jaron and Frankie. The cartoons have, I mean, I think we've gotten to the point where we're just, if we were saying this as kids or teenagers, we'd be like, ugh, gross. But a lot of these anime, Mrs. Elastigirl,
Oh, she's got the hips.
the girl,
The absolute
Girl.
dump
girl
truck.
from
Yep.
Girl from
Lilo and
Andy's mom.
Lilo and Stitch's,
The older
Sister?
sister, yes.
was that the chick from B movie too?
oh, yeah.
Oh,
Absolute Bill. It's like, what are you doing to these kids these days?
Are we trying to like run on to a new episode of sexualizing cartoon characters?
You know what? It might have to be an episode one day because I think we could talk about it forever.
Might have to just cut this entire segment out.
So just to highlight, I think Woody went with Topanga. I went with the OG, Kimberly. Frankie went with Kelly from Save the Bell. And we got Buffy the Vampire Slayer from Girthquake.
This wasn't
Buffy
a
that
TV
bad
show one.
bitch.
This is the X Factor, an honorable mention. Wendy Peppercorn from the Sandlot.
Yeah.
From who?
From the Sandlot.
But see,
That
was her only role.
Don't even remember that movie.
That was her only role. That was my thing because she is an absolute smoke show in that red one piece. But like that was like the only thing I ever remembered her from. So I didn't know if she really counted as a star.
And truthfully, her part in that is not really that big.
No, it's very tertiary.
Yeah, and like that's the whole point of that part is how hot she is.
Whole point is Squints became a man that day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And so
true.
did I.
I mean, I don't like how many of y'all did that to get a kiss. Nobody.
Black people don't swim.
Well, exactly.
That
You didn't
movie
jump
was
in the pool to
made
get a kiss,
nowadays.
then.
She would be a pedophile. He wouldn't be. There would be no consent. Like, that movie would be canceled. Right.
Well, you know, for a fact, after the whole thing happened, she's not going to sit there and wink at you afterwards.
That's true. Too.
Yeah, that would be gross.
That's true. She did.
I mean,
yeah, that's what she winked.
And on that note, you guys joining another episode of From the Heart for the Heart, where we talk from the heart for the heart about subjects,
Can we get
brothers.
a Wendy Peppercorn soundbite in here somewhere?
You need to calm down. All of our conversations are from the heart for the heart. We might disagree, we might not agree, but it's all from love, from a place of love. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, put back into the world, is love. Thank you guys for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the episode.